Dear participants, I would like to welcome you to our webinar. My name is Sevil Çalışkan Özcan. I work for TAF Technologies as Marketing Manager. In our webinar today, we will be talking about enhancing the passenger journey in the new normal with our distinguished speakers. Our first speaker will be Mr. Nejat. He is the Deputy General Manager in charge of operations at TAV airports in Macedonia. TAV operates Skopje and Ohrid airports in that region. Mr. Kurt will be sharing his view about the transformation that is taking place in air travel and passenger expectations after COVID-19. Our second speaker will be Mr. Aziz Aksoyek. He is the Head of Business Development and Sales at TAF Technologies. He will be presenting us the technology solutions that airports can benefit from to rebuild traveler confidence to fly safely again. If you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to share them using the Q&A section. Without further ado, I would like to turn it over to Mr. Kurt now.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good day, good evening from Skopje to everyone. It's very pleased to be here speaking for this topic especially. And I'm very excited to share with you some of our views about the passenger experience and expectations in the future, especially after the COVID-19. As we all know, it has been a very major impact in this 21st century as the COVID has impacted the aviation as nothing has impacted it before. And I would like to point out some issues and some subjects which we all need to consider, especially in the airport sector and aviation sector, which is related with the passenger satisfaction overall. I would like to put my presentation right now to go into further details with you. Okay. I think it's visible, right? Everybody can see it. Yes, perfect. So our topic today will be the passenger experience and expectations after COVID-19, which more or less in many webinars has been already subject and has been discussed, but this subject is developing further and most of the airports and airlines are adapting further, especially from the perspective and from the expectations of the passenger. So I would like to The topics that we will discuss is the new reality of passengers, old vs new habits, because everything that has been until now experienced in our airports as an old habit will be replaced with the new habits, and these habits will stay for the next future. It's not going to change anymore. And the same goes with the hygiene at the airports, and which is triggering automatically the digital transformation, the touchless technology, as well as the passenger comfort and the travel motivation, where I would like to point out a little bit more about surveys made by ACI. Afterwards, in the end, I would like to speak about ourselves as Skopje and Ohrid airports, what we are currently focusing on in light of the COVID pandemic. In terms of old passenger habits, when we look back at how passengers were experiencing their journey through the airport, it was more like a very, very smooth ride. And waiting in queues or looking at signages, the passengers really didn't care. I mean, they didn't much were disturbed by it, or waiting in crowds weren't the problem. Looking at signages wasn't the issue because they can ask anybody else who is around them, especially those who have a badge. But shopping was one of the major items, especially when you're transit. Food and beverage was okay to sit and go to the airport several hours before to have a coffee. But that all has changed now. And the passengers are more anxious, they are more excited, they are more precautious when it comes to the COVID and the airports and traveling itself. That's why avoiding crowd gathering spots is one point. Avoiding queues, observing displayed information more detailed, because people would like to know what's happening inside that airport. They would like to know what kind of precautions are this airport putting in place. What is it that they are doing to enhance the safety of the passenger. That's why it plays more importance. So passengers are more focusing on this. Self-service kiosks are now more and more used, and until today, self-service kiosk, we still had to use our finger to use the touchscreen, but this is going to change as well, because people would not like to use or touch any surface in an area where many passengers are traveling through. More inclined to use technology. This is a topic which I would like to share during, which my colleague will share during the next presentation, which is more pointing at the passenger flow management platform by TAV Technologies. They will go more into deep detail about the technology that will enhance the passenger experience during their travel and which will give them confidence while the COVID and similar situation is in place. Online check-in, hand hygiene, and shopping less is definitely something that passengers will try to avoid. This is through our sister companies. We have also received some feedback that usually passengers go through the free shops and shop for their relatives, for their friends, and so on, but that's not going to be the same again. People try to avoid shopping as much as possible and spend less time in the free shops. So there are 4 key challenges as for a post-COVID-19 world, which is passenger processing. When I say passenger processing is, before COVID-19, passenger processing was focusing on fast and efficient processing times. That was the only thing that passengers were focusing on, which was then translating into their satisfaction. But now, this is not the major item anymore. Now, how this is going to transform is not the fast and efficient, but is how safe the processing time can be established among airports. So it has shifted from passenger processing to safe passenger processing. This is something that all airports are now focusing on to ensure that the processing times are more safe for the individual traveler. This next is self-service implementation, contactless implementation, which is from the curb until the aircraft itself. All airports should check where are those points where the passenger will feel they will have to use the physical contact. This items, this subject, this services needs to be upgraded and turned into a more contactless implementation, which is also a developing point at the airports at this moment. Biometric enablement, accelerated implementation of touchless travel. This is definitely a point which has, through the COVID impact, has accelerated the process, and technological companies are definitely focusing on this, as well as our company, TAV Technologies, will mention this subject more deeply in the next presentation. It's very important to enhance the travel, a seamless travel, which will require the passenger not to physically touch or contact anything until they reach the airport. Employee well-being with focus on health and safety. Now, this is a very important subject because our frontline staff, which are in directly contact with all passengers, must feel comfortable and confident enough to handle and to serve the passengers. If they are not confident and if they are not safe while performing their duties, it will ultimately lead to the fact that the passengers will not be safe and comfortable as well. So we as the airports, and I believe the airlines as well, have to focus especially on the well-being of the employees first, to ensure that they are safe while implementing their duties. And this will then translate automatically into the well-being and the comfort of the passenger itself. So we need to make sure that passenger comfort is back, because they have lost it throughout this COVID-19 impact. And our job right now is, as the first gate which leads to the aircraft, the airports needs to make sure that we need to bring back the confidence to the passenger while implementing all of the safety aspects related to this COVID pandemic. And there are a lot of things that we can do. There's a lot of things that can shift, and there's a lot of investments that airports were thinking of, which can now be turned into the investment related to this safety implementation. Hygiene at airports is probably, and for most importantly, that aspect which was triggering the satisfaction surveys, which was the cleanliness of the airport, is the first point which passengers are looking at, besides the processing times. So throughout the airports, putting hand sanitizers. If we don't have touchless devices, it's important to have hand sanitizers among these touchless devices that passengers can use, which will make them more safe. Physical distance stickers, dividers, which is all in place. You will say now, okay, we put these dividers, but in the end we sit side by side in the aircraft. But the aircraft's filtration systems are more sophisticated, so the possibility to have some viruses in the air is very, very, very less. Thermal cameras implementation, some airports have it at their entrances, as do we have entrance thermal camera checks, which ensures that the temperatures are within the standards that has been provided by the Ministry of Health in one's country. Cleanliness of the WCs are also one major item. Now, if airports still have toilets where you have to push the button to flush the toilet, where you have to pull up the handle to wash your hands, I think this is going to change, and all airports will adapt themselves to put touchless or contactless devices in order to make sure that people can clean themselves in the WCs. And there is also some other aspects which is more related to digitalization. My colleague during the next presentation will point at that as well. There is ACI has implemented the airport health accreditation. I would like to talk about this because this is also a psychological enhancer for the passengers to raise their awareness of what airports have achieved in terms of implementing this health certificate accreditation, which is ensuring that the airport is in line with the safety and does all maximum requirements to make sure that the passengers are safe. And among all of our airports, 10 of our airports have already received this accreditation. I would like to say that we received it the first, if I may say that. So we have, here's a list of some of our airports. The majority of our airports have received this accreditation by ACI, and there are a few missing, but they have already applied and will receive this throughout this week as well. So this is a green light. It's a go for the airports to have applied for this accreditation certification, which is an enhancer to make sure and visible for the passengers that the airport is accredited. It's a very, very important point. Next is the digital transformation. The next slide I will point out, it's the slide that I have prepared based on observation. It's an estimation. It is not referring to any study that has been performed before. So if you have questions about it, I'm giving you the answer up front. Here you can see the line from 2005 until 2020. So the average awareness of passengers in terms of technological implementation, using their phone, using online check-in, using self-check-in, etc., was more or less an average trend until 2019, end of 2020. So basically, passengers were not very much focusing on this. Airports were more or less trying to keep expenses a little bit lower and not going towards this direction. So this has changed, and I call this the COVID impact. And I believe we will soon see similar schemes which will be produced and which will be implemented. You can see automatically that the COVID impact does not only impact the awareness of passengers that they need to focus more on technological developments in order to avoid contacting or in order to avoid being in crowds, etc. This is a major item. Basically, I can also say that COVID-19 may be the trigger for the fourth industrial revolution. It will go faster and faster because of it. It's a very important aspect. COVID somehow have given us a lot of negativity, a lot of economical restraint, but it has also triggered something in the technological sector. It will go faster. And this is one of those scale. IATA has indicated that in 2020, 80% of passengers are using self-service technologies. This will increase throughout 2021, and many new technologies will evolve throughout this development. It's a very important development. Here, regarding the biosafety and the basic development which we are looking for in the future, it is something that we would like to point out. IATA has put this nicely, which is something that will take place in the future. This I'm not going to explain more because our next presentation will be pointing at this specifically. I would like to go fast through this small slides, which I would like to point out that the ACQ survey is this year has been sponsored by TAV Technologies, which is a very, very important point for us. We are very glad to announce this, and that the ACQ has also implemented 3 new questions related to the pandemic, which is also sponsored by our TAV Technologies company. It's a very nice development from our perspective. ACI Global Traveler Survey Report is showing fast that during the time from 31st August of 16 September, 4,100 participants, travelers older than 18 years, 6 regions, 30 countries. 3/4 of the respondents, 76, mentioned that they will not travel if they require to self-quarantine upon arrival. Now, this is a very important point that all countries need to implement maybe pre-COVID test units at the airport and to make sure that they lift 14-day quarantine, which is an enabler for us to put travel back at its place. It's very important that this is going to be triggered somehow through ACI, through IATA, through ICAO, and through the organizations, to ensure that countries especially make sure that this 14-day quarantine is removed. 97% of the travelers in 2019 will travel again in the future. So this is all, if you look at these surveys, this is all assumption. They say we will, but when the time comes, they may not. So it is an average. We don't know if this really reflects the truth, but this is the survey. It says 48% of travelers will be back in 0 to 3 months. 20% of the respondents are not confident that airports and airlines are provided safe environment. So here it comes in that whatever airports do, we need to make sure that the airlines follow, because they enter through the airport and they will exit into the aircraft. So the airlines must make sure that they implement the same precautions. Here, quickly, not to take much time on these slides, passenger fear to contract the virus, and looking at the entire journey from the moment passenger on their way, the airport upon their final destination. On the plane, 38%. In commercial areas, 28%. In the washrooms, 26%. At passport and security, 22%. While waiting in the gate, 14%. While at check-in, 12%. And while at boarding, 12%. This is the percentage that passengers are more likely afraid to contract the virus. Here also another line which we see that where passengers are fearing the most to contract the virus: on the way to the airport, while on check-in, at passport, in commercial area, in the washrooms. Washrooms is more or less the highest. While waiting at the gate, while boarding plane, on the plane, at destination point during the stay. So this is changing all the time. This survey needs to be put in place several times more often, because I believe as airports start to implement necessary precautions, it will change the awareness of the passengers itself. Only 23% of respondents are not afraid of contracting the COVID-19 virus at any of the key touch points. Our job is to increase this percentage through all of the safety measures that we put in place. We need to get back the confidence of the passengers, and only by implementing necessary standards and making sure that everybody knows what we are doing. Through social media, through your websites, it's important that you announce this, and it's important that the passengers will receive this information. Passenger comfort, travel motivation. The main reasons for next travels: 46% personal reasons, for families to unify, for jobs and so on. Vacation, 16% business. 61% travel is just as much, will travel just as much as they did before. 27% will travel less frequently, 12% will travel more frequently. So here we have the statistics, and we need to work towards this to achieve an increase in these frequencies. 65% of respondents agree that health and safety measures implemented to face the COVID-19 crisis should remain once it has subsided, meaning wearing masks will stay. COVID-19 testing should stay. It could be antigen test, etc. Hand sanitizers will stay for a longer period of time. Contactless procedures will be the next development and put in place in most of the airports. So this is something which we will live with for the next future. Here are the challenges to prepare the post-COVID-19. This is a very nice presentation that I just have from Deloitte, which is the challenging orthodoxies in airport customer experience. There are a lot of immediate opportunities that we can take in place. Analyze the passenger journey to understand specific areas of concern for your customers. Collaborate with stakeholders. Stakeholders is very important to collaborate and to put in place the actions together. Implement low-tech or no-tech changes in the passenger journey and employee experience that give both confidence that they are safe in the airport. Mid-term prospects would be identify retrofit opportunities to make existing self-service technologies contactless. In the next presentation, this will be more deeper discussed. Revisiting planned investments to confirm they align with post-COVID-19 passenger needs. Changing and shifting investments that we had planned for the last year will majorly go into the COVID-19 experience. Collaborate with government to implement health screening capabilities that meet local and national regulatory requirements. We are collaborating with the Ministry of Health, and we are very successful with implementing necessary means with the government together. Long-term plans would be to develop a robust pandemic playbook, to incorporate lessons learned from COVID-19 and ready for the next pandemic scenario. Airports may also develop a COVID-19 team, which can enhance through multiple ways the passenger experience. Accelerate implementation of biometric capabilities. As I said, we will go deeper in this in my colleague's presentation. Enhance, augment operational modeling and simulation. As well, in the next presentation, we will see that slide coming. What we are currently focusing as Skopje and Ohrid airports is we are majorly focusing on the relationship with the government and the possibilities to implement antigen tests at the airports. So it's very important for all the airports to ensure what facilities they have, what areas they have, what they can implement in the airport, and what the Ministry of Health and the possible antigen test providers need in terms of space and facility to enhance them, to make them or enable them to provide this test. It's important to have this already put in place before the green light is received. So we are pretty much in line with the negotiations with the government and supported by it. What we need only is to ensure that the destination points from our airport are agreeing with these tests provided at the airports and lifting the travel bans. Of course, the certification of these companies needs to be approved by necessary health authorities. Engaging airlines and flag carriers while doing so is very important. And there might be also possibilities that some countries create a bilateral agreement or even create a travel corridor with countries or point-to-point airports where both are applying the same COVID tests to enable travel to passengers without a 14-day quarantine. This would be one of those points. So, and last but not least, I would like to point out that something which is also developing is that most probably travelers will need to go or will need to have a travel pass, which proves that they have been tested by COVID, that they have antigen test or any other test which enabling them to fly. There are some companies who have already put it out, which is in development phase in terms of a beta version, which is the AOK Pass by the International Chamber of Commerce, Travel Pass by IATA, Common Pass by the World Economic Forum, and the Digital Health Pass by IBM. And there are probably many others, but in the end, it will probably be only one, which will be accommodated by most of the airports, but this is still a developing point, and we will see how this will develop in the future. I was trying to be a little bit fast because I was seeing I have exceeded my time frame here pretty much. And that's why I would like to keep it fast and to close it here. And I would like to thank you, and I would like to also ask you to closely listen to my next colleague's presentation, which is very important in terms of technological development. TAV Technologies has provided a very, very nice program that is very much worth to listen to. Thank you very much, and see you in a brighter and more developed airport prosperity in the future. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Hello. First of all, thank you so much for Mr. Nejat for his presentation. I think it was very important in order to understand the airport approach to the current pandemic situation. Now there is a lot of presentations and webinars explaining the current situation. As TAV Technologies, I would like to more focus on the two elements for how the technology try to overcome the current pandemic situation and what we can do in order to have a better environment for the passengers. So the agenda of my presentation will be around three topics. First, about adapting the new normal, as we all say. And the second and third topics are more focused on the technological added values, which is passenger flow management platform and the smart gate order platform. You know, in the business lives, we all have the same measures. We said that the customer satisfaction comes first. In aviation world, we translate it to the passenger satisfaction. But as you know, within the post-COVID, what we understand it, the satisfaction itself is more transformed into the confidence. So now the priority is the passenger confident in the airport, because we know that the more confident passengers, they would like to travel more, they would like to repeat more, and they will feel themselves more secure in order to use the airport facilities, and it automatically reflects the revenue generation for the airports. Because currently, as you know, because of the travel restrictions, all the airport traffics are drastically reduced. And according to the ACI Europe overall figures, we have been noticed that it has been go down by like 81% within the European airport network. So in here, what we do as technology, I think it's a very important factor, because technology before, we have the solutions for digitalization, mobile technologies, the contactless travel. It's not something that has been defined or discovered within the COVID. It has been always there in our daily life. But the fact is that the COVID enables them more and more in the airports. Before, these solutions, these technological solutions, was more into the high airport users, for the airport that has, for example, for the contactless travel, it was mainly focused on the airports that has the capacity problems or wants to increase this customer satisfaction more. But now even the medium and small size airports, it's a vital and very important factor in order to continue their business and attract more passengers through their journeys. So what we say and what we would like to highlight in our slide is by utilizing the passenger flow management and the smart gate order solution, we believe that the contactless passenger experience will be enhanced, and it will give a very positive appear to the passengers. And on the other side, the airport operators will get a direct benefit by increasing their revenues with using technological solutions. Because as an IT company, we always want to highlight that the IT is not a department of consuming the budget, but it's a revenue generation department. So this is a very important facts to show the added value of the technology and the IT. So as a last, there is like three pillars we notice in this new normal COVID world, what we say. It's the prevention is very important. The social distancing is a part of the prevention process, and the hygiene monitoring with the different aspects is very critical for the airport operators. So let me break up these two platforms. The first, the passenger flow management. I will just go in details about passenger flow management. There is a lot of, let me say, the similar products in the market, especially within the COVID period. You may hear all the added values of them. So what they are doing is they definitely reduce the customer wait time, and it have a direct impact on the customer satisfaction. It eliminates the waiting times, the queues, and more important for the airport itself, it helps extremely to optimize the staff performance and the productivity. And within this flow management platform, you can easily measure the KPIs and increase your operational efficiency using the simple matrix that is within the platform itself. And where you can use this platform, it's depending on the strategical decision of the airport. The main locations was designed for the entrance, the security checkpoints and the custom. This was the like the basics of the passenger flow management platform. Then it is the check-in counters, the backdrop areas, you know, the places that the passenger has the possibility to have the queues. So the retail areas, the toilets, baby care rooms, and even outside the airport, you can implement it with the taxi and bus stations where you can expect passenger wait time increases. So as TAV Technologies, what we are providing in here, we say that the passenger flow management platform is a platform that improves the queue performance. The queue management is becoming much more easy with the passenger flow management platform. The main idea of it, it has to give a best value according to the possible, the other platforms and the applications and the services. What is important in here, it also has to support the multi-airport approach. I mean, during this COVID period, over the months, we received a lot of demands, and therefore we explain our solutions to many airport authorities and even the countries. And we noticed that in some countries, within the different airport authority, they would like to monitor multiple airports in just one screen, let me say, in just one dashboard. So this solution will perfectly fit for such demands. And of course, the integration with the digital workspace is important because, as we are always mentioning, this is a digital transformation area. And within this time, it's very important that all the systems should speak with each other. They should be integrated, and the data that is creating over those systems should provide more meaningful explanation to both the airport operators and also the passengers that is using that such platforms. So this is just an overview of the platform itself. There is two important pillars in here. On the left side, you can see there is the modules and there is the information. The main idea is this platform is flexible. So it is growing as per the needs of the airports. It is growing and adapting itself as per the necessity of the passenger behaviors, because we continue to collect the passenger behavior approach. We make the necessary analysis, and upon the needs, we add more modules and necessary information within these platforms in order to make it fitting perfectly for the airport operators. The main modules we said is the dashboard. Of course, it's very important to see the whole general picture in one shot, let me say. The performance tables, the passenger processes, the flights, entrance. I mean, any specific part you want to monitor within your airport, you can easily have this platform and start monitoring it and start generating the performance tables over this place. Because within this platform, you can measure the density information, the real-time notifications, the waiting time, the queue lengths, and the backdrop density, for example. I mean, the density itself is an important information, the heat mapping for the airports, because the day-to-day operation, you don't only cover the current time, but you would like to simulate and be ready for tomorrow, the next week, and even next month. And within the platform itself, you can make the simulation and you can be prepared for any possible bottlenecks or any possible crisis situation. That will be very critical for the airport operators. And in this slide, I would like to highlight the more distinct benefits of the passenger flow management platform. So you can see it in the integrations, as I mentioned. The integration itself is a very important key factor. It has many integration with different platforms like Teams, which is so much into our life, even in the corporate lives. It has this waiting time prediction. So within the engine running behind, it can, within the data it collects over the time, it can give you the prediction for the waiting time and the queues for the future period. And something is very important. We are always saying that data is like the big data era we are living, and the data collection is important. We have to make it and we have to transform it into meaningful informations. So what we are doing with the passenger flow management, it has a direct impact on the advertising display. So we said that the technology should create added value. And for the airport operators, it also helped the airport to increase their revenue. One of the pillar of this revenue generation is, of course, the advertising from both the tenants or from other companies. So within the passenger flow management platform, within the reports and the dashboards, you can easily identify which areas in the airport are more exposed to the passengers via customers. And within this area, you can just promote your advertising campaign within the airport tenants in order to increase the revenue generation possibilities. Another fact is that the passenger coordinates on map. It's like a real time, you can monitor the passenger movement within the application. It creates a public APIs for integration, which is important for efficient use of the application. And the IoT sensor integration. I mean, this is also an important factor because, as I mentioned, the application itself, the platform itself is a growing platform. It is improving itself, judging on the passenger demands and the behavior. Within the IoT sensors, what we are doing is we are putting it on a specific areas in order to measure the air quality. For example, we are using it in the toilets, in the airports, for the odor sensor. So it has the functionality of having a occupancy monitoring. So before maybe it was not a very critical issue for the airports, but now within the occupancy monitoring for the certain location, like, I don't know, like the smoking areas, the changing the clothes or for the toilets, the passenger without entering that place, they can easily see what is the occupancy rate. Is it safe to go inside or not? So they can give the decision. This is all some kind of a psychological impact to give the passenger more confident on using the airport facilities. And it, as you can imagine, it has direct impact on the airport confidence level. On the right and left, you can see as the screenshot in the mobile application parts. On the left, it has the a Siri integration, which makes you easily give voice commands to go through the menus and having the real-time information. And on the right, it was a demand coming from one of our airports, and they would like the airport operators, once they are roaming around the airport, instead of going through the application and the menus, they would like to have this functionality. With the augmented reality, you can just hand over your smartphone and you can go around with the camera. And with this feature, once the camera screen is around the airport, it just shows the important places that has the queue lengths, the waiting times. It gives on the screen, even behind of the glass or the behind of the walls. It can identify for example, the X-ray machines, or it can identify the security checkpoints and gives you the approximate wait time lengths over the obstacles. This is the general benefit and the general idea of the passenger management platform. And on the next slide, I would like to more explain about the Smart Gate Order platform. So this is the second platform. We believe that it has the direct impact on the passenger confidence and also the revenue generation through the technology for the airports. So the Smart Gate Order platform, it has three main ideas: choose, pay, and take. So what you are doing it within your mobile phone, within your laptop, within any device you have, you can, even without going to the airport itself, you can just choose the menu from the specific tenants, like it can be food and beverage, it can be the retail shops within the airport. So without going to the, what we said, airside, without having the risk of touching the other, let me say, the passengers contacting to any shops, you can digitally continue your shopping experience, and it will give you more time. It reduces your waiting time, first of all, and it's direct have an impact on the customer satisfaction. And without exchanging the money, without speaking on the other people, through your trusted device, which is your mobile phone that you keep on having it all the time, you can continue your shopping experience. And it's as easy as choose, pay, and take process. The take is the last step. So what we mean with the take is, there is, depending on the airport, the take can be different. I mean, what we did is, in many airports, there is some designated areas which you can pick up your purchases as a passenger. But in some airports, they decided that they would like to use it as a VIP service for the passengers. It is directly impacting to the satisfaction. And they said, I have this VIP service, and they don't have to go to a designated area, which they may have the risk of contacting with other people that are picking up their, the products. So as a VIP service, you just mention about your gate, your ticket, which airline and in which gate you will be traveling. And it is directly going through the gate, all your purchases, without waiting or in the queues, or without being contact to any other personnel. I think that is like adapting of the usage of the Smart Gate Order platform. As I mentioned a similar slide on the previous platform, in the Smart Gate Order, it also, you can use it in every step of your journey. Like, as I mentioned, you don't have to be in the airport to start using it. You can make the usage even days before you plan your journey. You can do it through the taxi and bus stations. You can make it through the entrance, the security, the checkpoints, and any area that possibly you are waiting in the airport, you can use the benefit of having this platform. And the technological background, it is capable of using in all mobile platforms, the web clients, and also the self-service kiosk. I think this is the general idea of Smart Gate Order platform. It is both this platform, the Smart Order and for the passenger flow management, they are what we are trying to bring it, not to make the passengers' journey more complicated than it is, because we have to be very clear on each step they will take once they are entering the airport to the journey to enter their seats in the plane. That's why we believe that the simple solutions will make a huge difference in order to passengers to estimate what will be the next step, and they will feel more comfortable in order to make more consumption, let me say, within the airport's premises and within the airport services. That will be the main focal point of these two platforms that we are providing through the technology. Well, thank you so much for listening. I think we will take also the questions, and for more details, questions and answer, you can have the detailed contact informations. And thanks so much again for having your time.
I would like to thank our speakers for their presentations, and also to all participants joining our webinar today. For further information, please email us at corporate@toptechnologies.aero. I wish you all a great day or night. Goodbye.